I got a whole van. Yeah. We are finally back on trail. It's day 15, June 13th, I believe. We got back to mile 558.5 Willow Springs Road. That's where we got off a couple days ago. Started much later than we wanted. It's 11:20 when we started walking. We had this wonderful, nice, eccentric trail angel named Roger that we met our very first day in town, who told us he was a trail angel, gave me his number. I reached out to him this morning. He said he could drive us back. Just a nice, eccentric guy. Just took a little bit longer. He got lost a couple times. Even though he lives in town, got lost a couple times. Took us in 2 groups. So starting later than we prefer, but we are back on trail and making progress again. I think I forgot to mention a pretty significant part of my day yesterday. Tehachapi fortunately has an X-ray radiograph clinic in town, so my doctor submitted orders for me to get X-rays taken. So I got X-rays taken on my foot, and it is now 7 weeks after my fracture, and everything is looking phenomenal. I was able to talk with my doctor back from Utah, and he says at this point, especially with having hiked 200 miles on the fracture and with the X-rays, how the X-rays look, obviously the bone's still healing, but he doesn't anticipate any issues with that continued healing. At 7 weeks, the bone shouldn't shift or displace or anything like that. The way I was able to get around town to get those X-rays was a trail angel named Fran. So at the road we hitched in, where there's the water cache, there was a printed list of trail angels in the area. So I had taken a picture of it, texted Fran. She was a nice older lady who just loves helping out hikers. So she took me to the X-ray clinic, waited outside while I had the X-rays taken, and then drove me to Panda Express, and we had lunch together. So really, really awesome. Wouldn't accept any money. So definitely recommend reaching out to trail angels in Tehachapi. But that was my good news of the day yesterday. So my first breaking point after starting hiking today will be about 8 miles, and that 8-mile mark is where there is a water cache and the trail crosses under a highway. The crazy thing is, there's the highway, and yet somehow the trail still has 3 miles to go before we get to the highway and cross underneath it. Made it 8 miles to the water cache, and this food combination was my entire motivation. Fortunately, there's no shade here, so it'll get a little bit hot, but well worth it. It's a little bit windy, and I'm walking along the highway, so I'll try and talk loud so y'all can hear. But I just left the water cache, and my bag is extremely heavy. Food-wise, I have about 4.5 days of food, so that's not too bad. But I'm carrying the most water I've carried yet. I'm carrying 5 liters of water away from the cache. That was at 566.5. Because our next water source will be a spring in 17 miles. Now, obviously, not making that today. We've already done 8. I'm probably about another 7 more, given that we only started at 11 today. But our next water source is 17 miles, so I'm carrying 2 liters to drink on the hike up to camp today, 1 liter to have at camp, and 2 liters for the morning. We'll have 10 miles left to hike in the morning till the next water source. Each liter is about 2 pounds, So I got to the water cache with about 1 liter left and drank it, and then basically added over 6 pounds to my backpack from the time I sat down to when I stood back up. There's a trail, and here will be camp for the night. Nice and sheltered from the wind. My camp is now fully set up. There's my hiking clothes just air drying. Dinner is cold soaking, almost ready, and some snacks. So today we left Tehachapi. We started hiking about 11:20, did 14.8 miles to 573.3. We are 7 miles into our 17-mile water carry, so we have 10 miles tomorrow morning to get to the next water source. I still have 3.5 liters, so I have plenty, especially since in the morning I don't tend to drink a lot. So I definitely have plenty, but we did the 5-liter water carry. Is definitely the most water I've had to carry yet. Up to this point, 4 liters has been my maximum. But it did feel better. It felt heavy for sure, but it did feel better. I switched up how I carry. So when I did the 4-liter water carry, I used 2 1-liter smart water bottles in my drink pockets, and then 1 2-liter bladder that I hooked up at the top of my pack underneath the brain. And it always felt heavy, like it's pulling my back off. So I got an extra 2 smart water bottles when I was in Tehachapi. So now I have 4 1-liter smart water bottles that all fit in my drink pocket. So the weight is a little bit lower, closer to my hips, which definitely carries more comfortably. The hill itself wasn't bad. Very windy, very graded, wasn't too hot. It was just carrying 5 liters of water that was the tough part. But I'm gonna sit here, roll out my foot with this massage ball that I got at Walmart. Most hikers typically use a cork massage ball, but because it's lighter, but Walmart didn't have that, so I make do with what I have. Eat ramen and then just wait for everyone else to get here. We all kind of plan to get here. I'm not sure if everyone will or not. I'm the first one here, which tends to be normal with my tramily. Tend to be the faster hiker, so which is what I like to do anyways, is get to camp earlier and set up and relax. So we'll see if everyone makes it, how late they make it. There's at least room for 4 more tents.
The Parmesan flavor is less flavor.
Pour some hot water. You got too much gasoline.
Those carrots.
Good morning from day 16. All of us ended up camping together, so Mia, who is now a la carte, Emily, who is now appetizer, Soren, who is soda pop, and then Isabel, Dirt Nap, and me all made it to the same campsite last night. The goal today is to make it to a campsite in 20.9 miles. The question that we'll have today, moving from camp right now, the next water source is in 10 miles. After that, we have 2 different options. So after the 10-mile stretch to begin with, the next on-trail water source is in 20 miles, or there is an off-trail water source 10 miles after that where we'd be camping. And so the options are, do we carry water for 20 miles, which would involve a dry camp. Dry camp is where you camp where you're not on water. So we can either do a 20-mile water carry with dry camping, so carrying the extra weight, but not, or do we only carry for 10 miles and do a 1 mile, so total 2 round trip, 600 feet elevation, for extra to pick up water where we're going to camp tonight. I'll look at the elevation changes for the 20-mile carry a little bit later. But my thought is to do the 20-mile water carry because I don't want to add 2 extra miles to my day, especially since it's 600 feet elevation change in that 2 miles, so 600 feet one way. And what I'm trying to convince myself is carrying these 5 liters water and the extra weight is training for the Sierra. In the Sierra, we won't need to carry this much water by any means, but the extra weight I'm carrying of water right now is about equivalent to the snow gear that I will be picking up for the Sierra. So that's what I'm telling myself. So I think I'm probably going to do the 20-mile water carry, but we'll see. One thing to add, kind of how we account for how much water we will need, especially if we're dry camping, is, I mean, it's unique per person, but typically 1 liter per every 4 to 5 miles hiked. Down that increases in the heat and uphill, and decreases, for example, in the morning. So that, and then depends on how you cook and everything like that, but about 1 liter for camp. So 1 liter in general for 4 to 5 miles, plus 1 liter to camp. So the sign says caution, but doesn't say what for. I found out the answer. Road crossing. This is the road crossing? I really hope that's not the road crossing they weren't warning about. My breakfast for this stretch and for what I sent ahead to Kenny Meadows is these Gatorade protein bars. It's 20 grams of protein and 340 calories, so this is perfect for eating on the go or quick breakfast. I mentioned this in an earlier video, but I'm not hungry immediately when I wake up, so I typically hike anywhere from 20 minutes to 2 hours before I sit down to eat my bar. And then typically I eat something every 3 to 4 hours when I'm hiking. Not necessarily big meals, anywhere from 300 to 500 calories is typical, but I'm eating every 3 to 4 hours to keep my energy up. This is probably the most consistently woodsy area we've been in so far. I'm really hoping it continues, but I wonder if it's because we are getting closer to the Sierra Mountains. So the Sierras, that section technically starts at mile 703, and we are at right what we camped at 573, so 130 miles from the Sierra. So I'm wondering if this change of scenery is an indication that we're getting closer. You can see a little snake slither path. It is 9:30 and I've made it the 10 miles to the water source. And I only have 10.9 miles left in the day, so I'm going to sit here for a good hour, hour and a half until I feel ready to keep hiking. Here's the water source. Obviously, that looks gross. The nice water coming from the pipe right there. Hopefully the noise of the turbines in the background isn't too loud, but I left the siesta spot, or my rest spot, about 20 minutes ago at 11:30. Ended up staying there for 2 hours, a little bit longer than I intended, but it was nice shade and I was enjoying my book. And now 10.9 miles from where that rest spot was to camp. I still plan to do carry the 5 liters rather than do 2 miles of off-trail miles to get water. So I'm just using this as training for the Sierra. Those extra 6 pounds are gonna be what it is with my snow gear and extra food for the Sierra. So I'm just using this as training, but if it gets too heavy or I'm not happy carrying that extra weight, I can always dump it and change paths and then plan to hike off trail instead. I don't know if I've talked about it yet, but all of Southern California has all these little foxtails. They are sharp, pointy things. Let me go in the sun. Sharp, pointy things that at work I'm constantly pulling out of dogs' paws, ears, mouths, things like that. But anyway, they're constantly sticking to us, to our backpacks, to our socks, etc. Just very annoying. And also makes me wonder how any dog owner in Southern California can go hiking with their dogs. I'd be so paranoid that anytime I went on a hike, my dog would come home with so many foxtails dug into their body. So just random thoughts as I'm going along the trail. I'm taking one last break, 0.8 miles before camp tonight, so it is 3:30, so I'll get there pretty dang early, which is what I like. If I haven't mentioned already, with my Tramily, which means trail family, I'm usually the first to get going in the morning, and then I'm generally the fastest hiker, and then I just take longer breaks and get to camp earlier and get to read and have my alone time, so it works out pretty nicely. This might be TMI, but hiking through period cramps is not enjoyable whatsoever. I mean, when I'm cramping, I just want to curl up in a ball and not move, let alone hike 20.9 miles. And I also have the waist belt of my pack that is squeezing right over my uterus and contributing more to the cramping. So I'm excited to get this last 0.8 miles done, so I can truly just lay down, curl up like my body wants me to. One of the benefits of getting to camp early is getting to lay in the tent and be protected from the bugs. Then also getting to choose the tent site that I prefer. So if I remember when I get out of the tent, I'll show y'all. But I got a nice tent site that's pretty flat. Slight slant, which I cracked by putting some of my unused clothes underneath one edge of my sleeping pad to make it flat. But it's pretty flat. And most importantly, it's sheltered around some trees. There was one other tent site I saw that was a little bit more sheltered, but a little bit more slanted, so it's a trade-off, and I preferred this one. So 20.8 miles actually today. In the last 10.8 miles, or
about 10.8 was me carrying 5 liters of water, obviously drinking it as I went, because I didn't want to do the 1.1 mile off trail one way, so it would be 2.2 miles to go get water, and instead I'd rather do the 20-mile carry. And actually I felt really good. My back didn't hurt or anything like that. I felt strong. My only problem today was my cramping, but that is nothing that hiking caused. So I'm feeling really good. So from here we have about 60 miles to the town we're going to hitch into for just a couple days of food. And on the day that we're going to hitch will be Monday. There is a bus that runs, it picks up, I don't know the exact minutes, but around 6, 11, and 4, and does round trips. I'm hopeful the next 2 days that I can push a little bit more than 20 miles so that on Monday I can make it to the bus and get on the bus. That's free for hikers for the month of June and July, and get on the bus into town at 11 and then take the bus back to trail around 4, and avoid having to hitch or ask a trail angel or anything like that when there's free transportation. So that's my goal for the next couple days. But yep, feeling strong today. I don't even know if I said, but I got to camp by about 4 o'clock, so I get to relax a little bit before everyone else gets here.